only got 8. Yeah, Hershey's. Walker, is it Mr. Fields? Mr. Fields ready? All right. When you come back, we'll start. All right, good morning, everyone. Want to get started with the community development meeting. First with a roll call.
Councilmember King,
Here.
Councilmember Moreno, Councilmember Jeruso, Councilmember Morel, and Councilmember Harris.
Here.
We have a quorum.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Ms. Anita. This time, make a motion to approve the minutes from the last meeting. Sign in first. There we go. Motion approved, second by Councilmember Harris. 3 yeas. Councilmember Morel. 3 yeas. No nays. All right. So we're here to discuss the encampment in Treme under the Claiborne overpass. First, we're going to have the first presentation going to be from the city's Office of Homeless Services, Mr. Nathan Fields, Mr. Jabari Walker.
Councilmember King, while we're waiting for our reps to come up, just wanted to let the record reflect that Councilmember Green is in attendance.
Yes. Councilmember Green, who also represents parts of Treme and the surrounding neighborhoods, is also present. Thank you. So before we get started, there has been some development in this issue, some developments in this issue. There is a February 9th date that has been agreed upon, from my understanding, by all parties involved to have this encampment cleared, decommissioned. I'll let the administration give more details on that, but I want to let the public know, for those present, those watching, that it is my understanding, we'll get some more details shortly, that the February 9th date, Friday, February 9th, is the date that this encampment in Treme under the Claiborne overpass will be cleared out, decommissioned. Let us know that's the same. Are those change terms interchangeably? Decommissioned, cleaned out, same thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
and before I get started, I want to actually allow, Mr. Jabari to, set precedence of, today.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, committee members. My name is Jabari Walker. I'm the mayor's deputy chief of staff. I just want to start out this meeting by articulating that through the work of Nate's Office of Homeless Services, in partnership with Unity, we just had a very collaborative and productive meeting on, spelling out a pathway forward. I know that there have been contentious meetings in the past. I know that there have been words and comments made on both sides that aren't productive to moving pathway forward. And I'm here to say that based upon the meeting we just had, and you're going to hear more about it and more about the plan shortly, I feel confident that we are moving forward and moving in the right direction. And like the chairman just said, to closing this encampment on February the 9th. So I just wanted to start out. I know we had a very contentious meeting last night. I attended, as most of you are aware. And I really want to reiterate that, I think what you're about to hear is from the different stakeholders that, differences aside, it's about getting the work done. And I think we've all collectively, including Unity and Travelers Aid, commit to getting this work done by the 9th. So you'll hear more from that from Mr. Fields' team.
All right, so,
Mr. Fields, before you start,
Yes, sir.
since I think it may be better for the floor of the meeting if we can also have Unity and Travelers Aid come at the desk, come up as well. So if we have any questions, we all can answer them together. So we can have them come up as well. That'd be great.
Go, Martha, get right down.
The health department did, they did make us aware that they would not be able to make today's meeting. They were present last night, so we were notified early that the health department would not be here. So if everyone could just give their name, the organization, and you can start with the presentation.
Good morning. I'm Martha Cagle, Director of Unity of Greater New Orleans.
Good morning. I'm Angela Patterson. I'm the Deputy Director of Unity of Greater New Orleans.
Nate Fields, Director of Homeless Services, Mayor's Office of City of New Orleans.
Taylor Dials, Deputy Director of the Mayor's Office of Homeless Services and Strategies.
Jabari Walker, Deputy Chief of Staff to the Mayor.
Donna Paramore, Executive Director of Travelers Aid.
All right, do we have someone from Travelers Aid?
Yes.
Okay, so you said it. Yeah, I was talking. I'm sorry. Okay, go ahead. I apologize.
Yeah, so, piggybacking on what was just presented by, Ms. Walker and by yourself, I wanted to let everyone know that, post last night's meeting this morning, we had a collective meeting to work through with all the issues that we have had in the past, couple of months. And we wanted to make sure that everyone know that we are streamlining these services and moving everything forward. Unity and Travelers Aid have been boots on the ground, up until this point, making sure that the outreach continued. We will move forward with the plan to close the location successfully and house the individuals at that location. What's gonna happen in the next few minutes is that Mr. Dials will give detailed information on how we're gonna proceed forward with those plans.
Members, up until now, from when we closed the Chapatula site until now, the collaborative work of Unity and Travelers Aid has led to the housing of approximately 27 individuals from the encampment site. We have approximately 35 remaining who are yet to be housed. They're going to be our priority over the next 4 weeks. We've agreed to a plan of daily outreach and engagement from our housing partners at Travelers Aid and Unity, as well as daily engagement from our office, myself personally, to engage individuals who are not on our closed by name list to ensure that they're also connected to services ahead of the planned closure date. We've also developed a plan with the Department of Sanitation to ensure that any belongings remaining after an individual is moved in are able to be removed from the site every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Work in earnest is going to be starting tomorrow. We are going to be having twice weekly debriefings with our field teams to try to clear challenges and clear barriers that may be present for individuals who need to be housed, all with the intention of getting folks housed and the site cleared and closed
Why is that burden?
by February 9th.
Why is that burden on us, JP?
So, can you explain the the cleanup that took place this morning? What happened?
So this morning is just a standard public health sanitation operation conducted by the New Orleans Health Department. They do those regularly throughout the year on a weekly basis.
Trucks out there, Freddie, and do nothing. They do this weekly.
So, Mr. Cole, I promise you, let them just finish. I got you.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's just their standard public health sanitation operation that takes place just about every week throughout the city. Based on staffing availability between sanitation, NOPD, and the health department. They were able to get back to an every week schedule, but with the amount of encampments and public health issues that are created by those encampments, they can only get to so many places so many times. So today was just a normal operation. What we're going to be starting later this week and for the following weeks is going to be different. That's going to be the regular pickup from sanitation on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. We're gonna have designated spaces as folks are getting moved in to make sure that anything that they do not want, that we're gonna be able to coordinate to be disposed so that hopefully we can over the next few weeks see some improvements. I think what so often we see is as folks move in, as those belongings aren't dealt with, we don't see any changes. We don't see the change. So hopefully with this, we'll be able to literally see the improvements of the site as folks are getting placed into housing.
And that's gonna start when?
First pickup should be Friday.
This Friday.
Yeah, so anyone that's moved in by then will be able to start taking those things down. I myself am going to be on site to coordinate all of those efforts.
And what location would that be?
Those are going to be the two blocks in along North Claiborne, along I believe it's St. Philip and Governor Nichols.
All right. Anyone else from the desk has any follow-up?
So really, we just want to talk about the, the collaboration of this effort, right? That it's, we have sort of, with this morning's meeting, taken the opportunity to clarify those roles and responsibilities, make sure that we're on the same page about who we're serving. We think that we have a strong plan in place to make this happen by February 9th. We made a commitment earlier, I guess it would have been late last year, to house 1,500 people by the end of 2025. We are still committing to that goal.
Why?
We are
committing to that goal with tax dollars, with black people starving in New Orleans. Look, I'm not talking to you, bro. I went to jail the last time you got.
Mike.
I ain't talking to you, bro.
Mr. Willis, look.
I ain't talking to you, bro.
Mr. Willis, we're gonna get everyone time to speak. We're gonna get everyone time to speak, I guarantee it.
Sit down, bro. Stay in your place, bro. Yeah, he's telling you breaking the law. Stay in your place. He's telling you that.
Mr. Willis, we good. Just let us finish, get through this meeting.
Mind your business, bro. I'm not mine. You my business. No, you not. Make me your business then. Yeah, go ahead on, bro. Cause last time I went to jail, this time I'm ready. What's up? Go ahead on, bro.
All right.
He can threaten me and call me names, man. What's happening? I ain't say nothing to him.
I appreciate.
That's on him. Don't say nothing to me. That's on him. This the third time. The last time I told you. Now he threatening me. Boy, you better go somewhere with the sickle cell, boy. Don't play with me. Whatever you got, you better go somewhere. We know you handicapped, nigga.
Fellas, come on, man. Let's
You don't want to play with me.
let's keep it respectful. Let's keep it
No,
All right.
who said I gotta go?
so
Who said? Who said I gotta go? Yeah, who said I gotta go? Yeah, who said?
look,
Yeah, come on, man, y'all.
leave them here. Let everyone remain. We're
I
gonna keep.
just saw you dap him. Why
We
you
go-
calling me? He started, ho.
We gonna let everyone remain present.
Yeah,
Let's keep our tempers.
yeah. I don't have no
Keep
temper.
the outburst.
Nobody saw.
Keep the outburst to a minimum.
Yeah.
Everyone get a chance to speak. I promise you.
Go roll on me.
I
man.
promise you.
I'm
Promise
grown. Everybody heard him threaten me. I didn't threaten nobody. I didn't threaten. No, what you doing right now then? What you doing right now then? You disrupting the meeting. You disrupting the meeting, man.
Everybody wanna engage. with
Yeah.
Ryan Cole.
Quit
Why
playing
don't
with
you say
me.
something to that?
No, they not.
All right.
They see what you doing, boy. They see what you doing. Go take your medicine, homie. Go
Sure.
take your medicine, homie.
So that 1,500 goal is broken down into three pathways. The first, what we're talking about today is the targeted encampment decommissioning. The second is through targeted outreach to all other remaining unsheltered individuals. So we're really gonna be able to expand that work once the $15 million from HUD for the unsheltered efforts gets to Unity. And then finally, increasing flow through our shelter system. Our office is in the process of putting together a financial package to try to improve the services at our emergency shelters throughout the city to try to increase that flow through the system, both at the city's low barrier shelter, but also the private entities that operate as emergency shelters throughout the city. So not only do we have this plan in front of us, we have the immediate encampment work in the Treme that we're looking at February 9th, but we're also looking to create a sort of long-term sustainability plan to ensure that we are housing a lot of individuals through a lot of different ways to try to make a serious impact on homelessness in New Orleans.
All right.
And another piece of that is.
One second, Mr. Fields. I don't want to, we have two council members that want to speak, and I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah,
I kinda missed it.
I'm sorry. Normally I would wait till the end of the meeting and make some comments, but I have a prior commitment because this meeting was a kind of an emergency meeting that was scheduled last minute, though the issue has certainly reached that status. I think part of the frustration when I talk to citizens is that the policy by the city on homelessness has been tremendously inconsistent. I would go back to 2014. And I know Mr. Fields is probably familiar with this law. If not, you should look at it. It was calendar 30/2073. It was passed, section 146/493. This was passed by then Council Member Cantrell and signed by then Mayor Landrieu, which was possibly one of the most aggressive anti-homelessness laws I've ever seen in my time as a legislator.
Oh.
I know the city since then has pivoted in a different direction as far as policy, but that law remains on the books and it has created a tremendous inconsistency. Because if we have a law that says X, but we're not following the law because we decided policy-wise to do Y, it's a conflict. And I know that my understanding is the city attorney has opined, not informally, that there could be constitutional issues with that prior law that has to be resolved.
Mhm.
So the city attorney, the administration have to make a decision. If this law that was previously passed is unconstitutional, that needs to be addressed because right now, from a public perspective, you have a law saying this is the way this is supposed to be done and policy saying something different. I will say, I appreciate everyone being here at the table today because as a policy maker, from our perspective as a council, during the budget process, we gave every department what they asked for. Mr. Fields included, whatever you asked for, we gave you. And from our perspective, the frustration we feel from our constituents that things aren't being done, it has become kind of a tremendous administrative quagmire. And I say that because there are no laws the council can pass at this point. The laws are on the books, whether it's going to be a more humanitarian version of what's already there or not. The current laws are on the books. So I appreciate y'all being at the table today because I'll tell you from watching the news last night, it seemed like a circular firing squad that everybody was blaming everybody from where we're currently at.
Yes.
And I think that people are tired of circular firing squads. We have to have accountability from every partner in this as far as what their role is and how they're going to accomplish it. And I think today's a good first step in that. But what I will tell you as kind of my final comment is that the math doesn't work. If the goal is to get 1,500 people housed by the end of the year, we're 2 weeks in and we have 27 people housed. If we're doing math, we'd have to be housing 58 people every 2 weeks to get to 1,500. So if the goal is to get there, I think what the public needs to see and what the council needs to see is how this plan is going to ramp up to get to that 1,500 goal. Because if we're at 27 now, 35 are in the pipe, we're now doing the clearance at Treme under Claiborne. That's a whole new group of people that are going to have to be housed. And I think the challenge we're all kind of dancing around is we have a housing stock problem. So you have actual people who are wanting to rent a house and we don't have enough housing stock for them, I don't know how we're gonna, without us throwing up housing overnight, how we're gonna house 1,500 new people that are kind of being inserted into the current housing crisis. So
Why we
Well,
prioritize?
I guess from my perspective, I think what will be helpful to the council is we need to see the full plan as far as how we're gonna ramp up to that number. Because right now, that number is very daunting on its face.
So, Councilmember, I just want to state a point of clarification. Taylor indicated that through 2025.
Okay.
2024. So it's not through the end of the year.
So it's end of next year.
End of
Yeah,
next
end
year.
of
Okay,
next-
2-year period.
Yes,
Okay,
sir.
well then, with a 2-year period, then I guess you're on track, sort of close to on track, but regardless, I do think we need to have the February 9th date. I think it's great you have a date because it's a benchmark date. I think we're inevitably going to be back here at another meeting called by Councilman King on February 9th to see what happened by the 9th. And I guess for us, the more information you can give us and the public and the more meat you can put on the bone as far as what this plan's gonna be, what are the benchmarks you've jointly agreed to, and how you're gonna meet those benchmarks would give everyone at least something to grade you by. Because the problem is that when you've kind of got, thus far, the plan has been very nebulous. Hopefully today, it'll be less nebulous, but it's been very nebulous. We know where you want to go. We collectively, as the council and public, don't know how we're going to get there.
Mhm.
And the more information you can provide to the public and the council as far as A, how we're going to get there and what our plans B, C, and D when we don't get there. Because I'll tell you, if we're back here on the 9th and we've housed 10 more people and we haven't moved the needle, so to speak, then it does become sort of like we're back to circular firing squad. I know Unity is exhausted being blamed. Travelers is exhausted and being blamed. You guys are exhausted and being blamed. But at some point,
It's their fault.
we have to figure out how we're gonna solve this problem
Mhm.
in a way that we can all be held to account for.
So the idea moving forward is 7 persons house per week and trying to keep at that pace. At this point in time, the biggest piece has been the miscommunication and rejoining back into the original plan and making sure that we move that forward. The original plan was shared in late last year during the time of the Chapatoulas closure, and we can re-release what that information looks like, but it's literally us getting back on board to that plan, which is.
Are y'all on track for that plan currently?
So, yeah, we're on track for the February 9th.
No, I mean, the plan that was released at the end of last year that had kind of benchmarks, are y'all on track with that previous plan?
I believe so.
Right now, yes,
Okay, well, if you could get my office another copy of that plan, I'd love to review it.
yes.
So I think that there's a lot of frustration from everybody on either side of this issue. And the more that we can have,
Why are we considering their
the
frustration?
more that we can have public information with benchmarks as far as where we're gonna go and accountability on how we get there, that's important step one. Step two is if this plan doesn't work, we need to know what the other options are. Because when you're dealing with this issue and the level of where it's at, we're essentially fixing an airplane in the air. If we have to know there has to be fallback plans, and I haven't heard of any fallback plans, what happens if your housing, what happens if Unity can't find housing? Like, what is the plan? Because there's a possibility that despite Unity's best efforts, despite having all the money, that because of the housing crisis in New Orleans, you can't find housing. What happens then?
There are a couple things that I want to speak to related to everything that you just shared. First, I want to highlight the incredible work that the Travelers Aid and Unity teams did in getting the Chapatoulas site decommissioned. That there are now over 40 people placed into housing from I believe it was October into November. So that those are numbers that we're including as well. That was a pace that we did certainly have some challenges related to how that operation went down, things that we have worked on together that we spoke about just this morning. And so I want to make sure that folks know that this work has started. We are doing it. We have seen success. And we are sort of retooling and figuring out how to continue moving forward here at our next sites. The second piece I want to say is that we are in the process of working with New Orleans and Company and the United Way of Southeast Louisiana to put together a communications package to make sure that we are essentially have a public dashboard identifying all of our work and meeting those thresholds and those deadlines that you mentioned. So we are, it's again, like you said, we're sort of doing this on the fly. So we haven't had the time to build out these sorts of things because we've been primarily focused on getting folks housed. But that is a priority of ours that we should have here in the coming.
Well, as a closing comment, I will certainly plan you've already gotten.
Mhm.
I would appreciate working with your partners if we talk about and have a plan B and plan B and plan C that we can circulate if we don't. I mean, some of the problems we're talking about are foreseeable. Having the available housing is a foreseeable problem. We need to know what the plan is if the units are not available. Because like, I hate to say this, but sometimes there are problems that money cannot solve. You can't just money your way out of some problems. And we look at the housing crisis in the city currently, and the amount of people who desperately need housing, who are currently housed or are currently about to be unhoused, they're all competing for the same units to some degree. I mean, we can stand up units, but not at this magnitude. So if we're going to know that's a problem, and that February 9th, I predict we might be back here because there's a problem, and we know beforehand, I think it's important for you to work with your partners and figure out what is the plan if the housing's not available.
Ain't gonna be no problem. We rallying out
So,
on the night
and
if they don't.
We
see
have several ways that we can make sure the location is taken care of by February 9th date, and we have talked through those items this morning.
Okay, just the more you can make that publicly available so we can all see it, the more the public can see it, the more we can all be accountable for what we agree to. That's all.
Absolutely.
In fact, Councilman, even as we speak, 8 housing units are being inspected today so that this process can be moved forward as expeditiously as possible. So we do understand the challenge of the housing unit scarcity, but fortunately, we've had a number of collaborative partner landlords come forward and make their units available for this purpose. And it is moving along extremely smoothly now that we're totally in sync.
Okay, well, like I said, please keep us informed. Please keep the public informed, and please give us something that we can all grade you against, because I think it's important that we all know where we're going, how we're going to get there, and how we're going to immediately segue to a different plan if we don't get there, because when the plans don't work out and we devolve into chaos, I think that's part of what you're seeing, how things got so off here today. So thank you. I apologize in advance for leaving early.
No problem.
Thank you.
Councilmember Harris.
So we will be here before February 9th because we have a quality of life meeting dedicated to this issue writ large around the city on January 22nd, at which time Clutch Consulting will also be here. So there will be more discussion about the plan, including landlord outreach that I know you and Clutch have been doing in order to ensure that units are available.
Right.
I do want to clarify that there were people housed from the Chapatulas encampment, as well as the 27 individuals housed from the Treme encampment. So there is progress happening. Is that correct?
Right, yes.
I want to ensure that while you're focusing on the Treme encampment, which I think is incredible, that we're also still cleaning and doing outreach at, for example, the Retha Castle Haley encampment that has popped up at Calio,
No,
that
let's
is
get
still
a
there.
prioritization for the bridge last.
and making sure that there's
No.
still cleanup operations happening there
Go.
as well. I know that the health department and sanitation does outreach there as well.
Here we
I
go.
do want to talk about the issue of people who are camping on private property and how that impacts outreach, getting things cleaned up as well, because as we've seen, once you close down an encampment, while folks are being housed, some folks are scattered and they go to private property. Can you just touch upon what happens and what the process is if somebody is on private property?
Absolutely. The last encampment location, luckily, we didn't have that issue. However, when a person goes into a private property, is now the property owner now steps in and has to go after them legally, which means they have to evict the individual from their private property. So for us to avoid that process, what we're trying to do is get the persons while they're actually on public property in the encampment location, so they won't make it to private property. That we can house them directly from that area, we can avoid a lot of issues that the landlord would have to take on by themselves. And we're trying to protect the landlords as best we possibly can, so we won't get into that matter.
Yeah, and sometimes the landlords can't be found, the property owners can't be
Exactly.
found. So for example, on Jackson Avenue, there was a woman who was camping on property that the owner could not be found. And so it took an adjudication process through the city in order for NOPD to go onto the property, to get burnout objects off the property, and for you to provide services. So I do want to highlight that it's good that in some ways that folks are on public property so you can do the appropriate outreach.
Absolutely, and that's the even more reason why we are expanding our team to our outreach team, so we can assist with what Unity is already doing and Travelers Aid has been doing for quite some time. Is making sure that when those calls come in, we can grab the individuals at those locations by expanding our network and continuously making sure that those persons are connected to services.
The other issue I want to touch on is the point in time count. I know that's coming up. What is the date and have we started that yet? And can you explain what the point in time count is?
Yes. You want to take it? So the point in time count or the PIC count is the count of or the homeless census to the individuals that are currently in the street or in shelter. And it's a total number of those individuals so that we can have an understanding of who we're serving, when we're serving, and how we're serving them. I believe the date is going to be 22nd, January 22nd. We'll be starting with our shelter process, and then we'll be going on starting later on that evening into our street homelessness.
And that is literally counting heads to say, okay, now we think we have 1,500 people, but now we know we have 2,500 people.
Correct.
Okay. And then finally, I want to touch on the shelter, the low barrier shelter. As I understand it, an RFP has gone out to find a new provider. Start Corporation is no longer there. Is that correct?
That is correct.
So who's running the low barrier shelter right now?
Currently, we have the low barrier shelter with our assistance of TCA, who is our fiduciary and contractual partner, who oversees all of the paperwork and management from the contractual perspective.
So basically, your office is running the low barrier shelter.
That is correct.
You're running outreach.
Correct.
You are coordinating with the other nonprofits.
Yes.
All of this is within your wheelhouse.
Yes.
Do you have enough people to help you with this?
We are working on expansion.
Okay, please let us know, because
Yes,
it's too important to fail.
absolutely.
Thank you.
Councilmember Green?
First, I want to start by thanking you, Mr. Fields, and I look at you specifically because I attend those encampment cleanups, and Mr. Taylor too. And just like this morning's cleanup, it does make a difference. It's helping to save lives when you go there and you see people, for example, as we saw in the Claiborne encampment, someone who was in a tent, who was in health peril and hadn't secured the support that she needed. Those encampment cleanups are important. And I'm going to have some comments at the end. I want to hear what the public has to say, but I do want to thank the members of the public who were in attendance at yesterday's evening's meeting. It was valuable. It was valuable to hear kind of what we all hear all the time. But I want to applaud you for your commitment, because at the end of the day, you were hired in February of last year. And no matter what, everybody was involved, but an encampment was closed, one that had been there for years. And you have expressed your desire to see them closed because they are a health hazard. People are dying in the encampments. You've seen much more than the share of death that you should see in the short period of time that you've been here. And I know of your commitment and your heart. So it was a good hire in terms of just the practical nature of having someone on staff at the city who is motivated, but you have put your motivation into work that has resulted in something very positive. So I appreciate that. I am going to have some comments at the end, but I do want to say this. One of the challenges in our city is that people are dumping so many items at these encampments. You think that your old piece of furniture that doesn't smell good, that can't be in your house, is something that you should leave at an encampment. For those who are watching, no, that is not a good thing. But just as this morning, those pieces of furniture will be picked up. That is not a good idea at the end of the day, and it's really unselfish. The food dumping, we have seen the results. This morning, in every encampment, there have been mice and rats that have come from tents because unfortunately, the food dumping or the lack of cleanup by even those who are there is resulting in some serious problems. So I just want to say that I appreciate the work that you've done so far, and I know that you're working with partners. But I have to say this. This is not a housing crisis issue. At the end of the day, you relocated persons who were at the Tchoupitoulas encampment, 35 of them, by everybody finding apartments. I am in the property management business. There are vacant units. You got to talk owners into wanting to accept the vouchers because, of course, they're dealing with sometimes people who have mental challenges. They have drug addiction. They have alcohol addiction. They don't have jobs and the like. But we should not think that we can't achieve our goals as if there aren't 35 units available between now and February 9th somewhere in the city, as if there aren't 1,500 units available in the city. There are. You got to do a lot of work to get a landlord to want to accept that voucher. So I just want us to not speak so much about housing shortages as if there aren't units available. The challenge is to get people into the units that are available. And it's not just a simple matter of moving them in. It's a matter of working with landlords and working with those tenants who want units. I reserve the right to just have some comments after public comments, but I just want to start off by saying that I appreciate your work. I also appreciate the work of Unity and Travelers Aid. I don't mind telling you that I do have some problems with regards to some things that I've heard. For example, when I hear that we don't know how many homeless people there are in the French Quarter because at hot seasons, they go elsewhere. What does that even mean? You know, for example, they go to cooler climates. So we have to get a handle on who's homeless because of challenges, who comes in town. For example, I've got text messages this morning about people knowing of people who come in town and they choose to stay under a overpass because they don't want to stay in a hotel. And then they're qualifying themselves as residents of New Orleans who are homeless. There's a lot that has to be done. But to all who are at the table, I do recognize that it's a very, very complex issue. But it is important for me because I see Mr. Fields there and Mr. Taylor there all the time when there are encampment cleanups going on, when there are meetings. I appreciate your work, and I'll comment at the end. Thank you.
Any more comments?
No, I just wanted to, just thank our partners, in Unity and Travelers Aid for making this morning happen. Wanted to thank all of you for being in support of how we proceed forward, and just want you to know that, moving forward, we want to continue making this work happen with our partnerships in the best possible way that makes all of the persons at the locations, especially those who are constituents, in a safer environment and continuously being comfortable within their neighborhoods.
So I appreciate that. I just want to make sure before we go on to the next, thank you, to the next part of the agenda. February 9th is the last. So on the 9th, what can people expect to see under the Claiborne overpass?
Well, mostly on the 9th, it will be us, the city, on boots on the ground and making sure that we have closure for all of the persons who are in that area. So that means that persons will either be already connected to housing, transition into a location, or going into a shelter process. That is the plan.
So they can expect
All debris removed?
that's clear debris and no one sleeping on the ground or in a tent outside.
Yes,
Is that
sir.
correct? Okay. All right, if y'all can stick around, they may have some questions throughout the rest of the presentation. So the next presentation, we're gonna have some residents and business owners. Thank y'all. From Treme, they're gonna come to the desk and give some personal accounts of how their businesses and homes have been affected. And after that, we're gonna open up the meeting for public comment. And we understand this does not represent everybody in Treme. These are just a few people here. We had a packed house last night. We want to get some personal testimony, so we can see how it affects individuals directly that work and or live in the Treme or surrounding neighborhoods. If you can introduce yourself, there's a tablet in front of you. Just sign that and introduce yourself, and you can start the presentation.
Good morning. My name is Paula Pete. I'm Director of Housing and Family Resources of New Orleans. We are a HUD certified counseling agency, and we've been operating on North Claiborne for over 30 years, helping low-income families become homeowners and helping families to acquire housing through HUD resources. My building's on Claiborne, so it becomes the canvas of the homeless. They paint on my building all the time. And they do it probably during late hours, morning, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. So every day when we come in, there's some kind of writing on the building. Other than that, I am an advocate. I am a helper of those who need assistance. And we do get calls all day, every day from families who need housing, and we refer them to several resources. What I like to know is who's a single point of entry for receiving these phone calls, because families tell me they can't reach anyone. Who would that be?
I think that'd be Unity. Unity, I see Mr. Taylor shaking his head, so Miss Angela Patterson with Unity. No.
Okay, I know Angela, and normally she will take calls, but when I'm sending them directly to the 1-800 number or the 188 number, families are calling me saying they can't reach anybody, and I think that area needs to be strengthened.
On purpose.
All right, so we'll make
that.
we'll make sure before you leave that we get you in contact with Ms. Cagle, who's the director of Unity.
Right.
Travelers Area Leadership, we can make sure that you get their top individual's name and number, so you can reach out to them when you have that issue.
We have 5 to 6 HUD certified housing counseling agencies who have to be trained in just about everything in housing, from preventing foreclosure to how to become a homeowner, home buyers education and training, just everything. And we're not included in this homeless effort to help. And that's what we do. So we definitely need to have community-based partners who are in the field all day long. We answer our phone every day. So I think they need to widen that some. I used to sit in these meetings with HUD in the early 90s. So you're talking about 30 years ago. And they wanted information from the community on how we feel, or what we felt we could do to solve the homeless problem. And here we are 30 years now, we still haven't solved it. So I would think that housing developers, people who build, nonprofit developers who can build tiny houses, or we could modify containers into homes. Nobody should be homeless, nobody. And people care more about animals on the street than they care about people. We have buildings in North Claiborne, the Autocrat Club. They have lots of space. We have a community center that nobody goes to under the bridge on North Claiborne in St. Bernard. Nobody goes to that facility yet. But we need to find locations where people can go instead of living in encampments. So that's what I'm supporting.
Thank you, Ms.
Thank
Stelly.
you.
Hi, my name is Amy Stelly. I'm a resident of Treme and also the executive director of the Claiborne Avenue Alliance Design Studio. I live about 500 feet from Claiborne. And what we have to tolerate is really unfair. Claiborne for 100 years now, Treme for 100 years now has been the city's dumping ground. And we're tired of it. So there are mornings when we wake up to acts of prostitution in front of our house. Our tires have been slashed. There are needles in the middle of the street. And our block is a great one because we have homeowners and we have children. And children are disappearing. in Treme in particular. So we're lucky and we protect those children. But we can't protect them when they go into the street, and you know, it's New Orleans. Kids play football in the street, they do all kinds of stuff in the street. This is part of the culture. But when they stumble upon needles, we can't do anything. It's too late at that point.
So, Ms. Teller, but actually, so when you mentioned the prostitution, are these like acts of prostitution in the public in front of your home? Or
In the public right of way in
Yes, sir.
private vehicles.
Outside under the bridge, Freddie.
Also, the children on my block walk to school. So it's a perilous walk. Trust me, between the needles in the street and the criming that happens in the neighborhood. There was a shooting around dismissal time about 1.5 years ago. We should not have that. No child should have to walk through gunfire. No child should have to see a drug addict overdosing under the bridge as they walk across Claiborne to get to school.
Yes, ma'am.
This does not happen in other neighborhoods, and we can name them.
Yes.
The issue that we have in New Orleans is that we don't attack the root causes of our problems. We look for Band-Aids, we put them on we put it on the wound and hope that we can pay thousands, hundreds of thousands to consultants to tell us that that Band-Aid doesn't look good, we need another one. We do not get to the root cause. And for those of you who know me and know my work, it goes to the root cause of the issue. And up until, number one, we rely on the professionals who are in the city, who were born, raised, and know the culture, we don't get the benefit of contracts to help solve the problem. That goes to other people.
We don't even get engaged.
We don't get it. We don't get a piece of that. So we do our work as we can in hopes to inform you and help you. But you pay other people to do it. And I have to tell you, I have a beef with New Orleans and Company, a tourism outlet, providing communications to residents when the city pays communicators quite handsomely. Why can't they communicate with us? The city council has PR people. The mayor has PR people. Those communicators work in service to us. We should not be paying consultants to do what we pay staffs, plural, to do.
Thank you.
I have an issue with that.
Yes, ma'am.
yes, ma'am. Understood.
And it's our tax dollars that go to pay them. So my request as a resident, and my family has been in Treme since the 1950s. Before I was born, my family established roots there. So I've grown up in that community. I've gone to school in that community. I've seen it change over years. We need to stop dumping, literally. They were talking about the furniture being dumped. You know why the furniture isn't dumped? Because the city dumps in Treme, right on Durbany. You heard that last night. And also, we don't have adequate trash pickup. I've lived in cities where there are designated days when you can put your stinky broken couch on the curb and the city or the county picks it up.
But we paying for adequate trash pickup.
We don't have that. So again, we don't get to the root causes. The bridge is a dumping ground because they're mimicking what they see the city do in that neighborhood. And I have pictures.
Yeah, I'd be definitely interested to see the pictures. You said the city is dumping on Durbany?
Yes.
Okay. If you-
I have pictures and other people who live in the neighborhood have pictures. So in short, I think if we're going to solve this, we need to look at the resources that we do have. The city does have properties that they can develop and for tiny houses. This is not rocket science.
Tiny houses, let them live on them lots like they living on that concrete.
Well, we want to provide a humane environment for folks so that they can prosper. We need to think in terms of prosperity and abundance in this city and not punishment.
Got it.
Really,
It's punitive here. And we're tired of it. So I would ask that you allow us to help you because we live with it every day. We're willing to help you, but it can't continue the way it is.
Thank you.
So there are solutions. But not if we keep with the Band-Aid and paying everybody else to tell us it's a purple Band-Aid today, but not a blue one. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Tully.
Thank you.
Mr. Thomas?
Good morning. My name is Margaret Thomas. I'm a business owner on Claiborne Avenue. We have a family business, a Crazy Plant Bay, right on the corner of Orleans and Claiborne, and another business, Treme Market Branch Event Venue at the next corner at St. Anne. Both of those businesses are dependent upon people wanting to come. You want to have a birthday party and spend some money. You want to have a wedding and come to Treme and Second Line in historic Treme and through the park. And you want to buy plants for your house and you know, and beautify. It's not, our businesses are not a necessity. So therefore, we're dependent upon a lot of different factors. So when people come, let's say to the event venue, you want to have a really nice wedding, you want to support Black-owned business, you want to be in Treme. If they don't turn at that first corner of Dumaine, then the likelihood that they're going to select my business and have their friends and family come is slim, because at that next corner from Charbonnet's place on down, looks like hell broke loose. It's dirty, it's filthy, there's people, there's tents. You guys know what encampments look like. This one is an unkept encampment. It's like nobody cared. So when you emptied out the other places or people decided to move, they came there. So it's just, it's not fair to the residents. It's not fair to the business owners. My property taxes went up, I want to say $9,000 on the event venue, and my insurance is $13,000 a year. So I'm spending, that's not including my mortgage. So I'm spending money to be on that corner, and I deserve the right to be able to operate my business on that corner and not be encumbered by people who don't want to participate in society. Okay, so now let's break apart. When you talk about homelessness, there's not just a big conglomerate of people that can't find housing. You have people that can't find housing. You have people that have mental health issues. And then you have people that just don't want to participate in society as we know it at all anymore. And as far as I'm concerned, the cities, the legislators, the law, we've given them a pass to do that. So does the law only apply to law-abiding citizens? I gotta make sure that I do the right thing, but if I decide to give up and I don't want to participate, I don't have to. There's no enforcement on it. And that's why we're all here today. That's why we're here to ask for you guys' help in this. Y'all are the lawmakers. Y'all are the ones who have the power to do it. What you hear here is anger, and the community is tired of it. So before you pit the community against the homeless people, and you have law-abiding citizens out there taking up arms, destroying tents, throwing Molotov cocktails. I'm just saying, you know, you guys do y'all job and get this cleared up. I'm disappointed this morning. I was at the meeting last night, and there was a lot of talk about Martha holding the purse strings and being a powerful person and not letting things progress and move forward. Martha was sitting in this chair, and you guys did not have Martha say a word. The other people, we heard from Nate and we heard from the other gentleman, but nothing. These are the people that received the money. There's already a plan in place. There had to be a plan in place in order for them to receive the funding. But you gave them a pass and said, well, we'll see it next time, or I want to see it in my office. You should have made them, hold them accountable right here in front of the community, in front of y'all, and tell us the plan right now. What is the plan? I think it was JP that, or one of you guys brought up an excellent question. Okay, so we already know there's not enough housing. So now what's next? What is the plan for that? What are we gonna do?
There is enough housing. There is.
So,
There is.
well, we don't know it.
There is, though.
And,
I'll say it again. I'll give you numbers. There is enough housing.
right.
I mean, there are enough apartments. You can go to a 400-unit apartment complex and 20 of them are vacant all the time. The landlords have to be encouraged and they have
They
to
don't
be
want
worked
that
with
demographic
consistently.
in their
I
home.
understand, but at the end of the day, we can't say that there aren't enough units. We're putting people into rental units. We're not buying them houses. We're not building, I'm sorry, I was out of order. But, okay, it's all right. We are not building them tiny homes. We are not building them houses. At the
Thank
end of the day,
Thank you.
right now, we're finding apartments, and right now, we need 35 apartments. I could tell you right now where there are throughout the city in different areas, 500 apartments available. It's not that there aren't units, it is complex. And that's why I appreciate the work of Mr. Fields and our health department, because yes, you have to talk to a landlord and say, we are going to provide you with a continuum of care. We're gonna come and visit at least once a week. We're not gonna let multiple people living in the unit. We're not gonna let trash be all over the place. And I understand landlords who feel uncomfortable taking that, especially because we're about to do something called a healthy homes situation where we'll get on them if the tenant is doing the wrong thing, which is unfortunate, but that we'll work that out through amendments. At the end of the day, though, I want us to all be on the same page with this. And if you disagree with me, show me numbers that are contrary to what I say. There are rental units available.
No.
There aren't tiny homes now. It takes too much. There are rental units available. Let us close the Claiborne encampment because of the people who are dying, the people who have drug problems that aren't getting treated, because of the people who are being allowed to have drug dealers come there. You know, when you see a nice car pulling up to the Claiborne overpass and staying in that area for a while, 80% of the time it's because it's a drug dealer selling drugs. At the last closure of the encampment, U.S. Marshals were there too and arrested somebody who was wanted for murder. So at the end of the day, we have to close the encampments, but we can't accept that there's not enough places for people to go. There are.
Let me just say this. So I'm a retired public health nurse. I also started a grassroots effort, if you will, with housing people. And I developed a program called Shared Housing. And what I did in my own houses, I found people that were like-kind, if you will, people that seemed that they could get along with each other. And I created a community in a house. So I took a 4-bedroom house and housed 8 people. God himself, when he had a whole bunch of people to feed and he had 1 loaf of bread, he divided the bread up. He didn't try to give everybody their own loaf of bread. It's a luxury to get your own apartment. A lot of these people might not even want that. They're used to living in a community. So then you isolate them in an apartment and they're sitting there like, okay, what's next? So you put people to an apartment in a twin bed in there. And if you've got them in a house, you can put 8 people in a house with a house monitor on site. So if there's a problem, then they call immediately the next person in line to call the case manager. So there are solutions. But again, we don't get to hear from the people that's supposed to have the solutions. Martha didn't open her mouth, and I want to hear from her.
Ms. Thomas, if I may add, the reason I didn't speak that much, because once I found out that we have a plan set forth on the 9th, and that by the 9th, that bridge, underneath the bridge is to be cleared out and cleaned, that's what I want. So I didn't personally feel there was need to keep going. Once we got the solution, we know the date, we know the time, that's, now we go past that, and it's not like that.
No.
Ms. Sully, I understand, but I'm just.
For you.
Yes, ma'am. But I'm just giving you the reason why
I know.
I felt the answer was sufficient. We got a time, we got a date from those in charge. So now the whole public knows February 9th is the cutoff date.
So on the 12th, then I guess the community is gonna be policing out there because we're not gonna let them back in.
And we don't want that.
So this goes to my question. Saying that they're going to be removed I think everybody at the table appreciates that, and so does community. But what happens next? I asked that question twice last night, and I did not get an answer. What happens on
Ew.
Claiborne? Because saying that the problem is solved on February 9th is like being half pregnant, and we all know you can't be there.
No, you can't.
Because how are you going to secure that area once folks are removed? And I have to tell you, the Chapatula solution is horrendous, and I think on Claiborne to put those horrible barriers there is not going to work, particularly with people who have businesses like Margaret and Charbonnet, because they're gonna have to come and open the barriers every time they have an event. That is not a practical solution. So what happens
In
next?
jail for sleeping under the bridge. The man, black man,
So-
they put him in jail.
For the Treme, the Chapatoulas encampment was different because it went from public to private. The persons who took over the location are the ones who chose to use those kinds of barriers. For the Treme, the space goes back to the community, so activating the spaces and making sure that it is ready for public use. Also, that means consistent surveillance of the area, using our NOPD details and making sure that we have consistent outreach going to the location. If somebody tries to come to the location, it is up to us to come out there and to help with that individual.
So my question then is, are you going to be at the site 24 hours to monitor? Because things happen in that neighborhood and we call the police and they don't show up. We all know the city of New Orleans is horrible at enforcement. So are you going to be there every day, all day, 24/7?
No,
So what happens when you're not there?
the idea is proper signage and proper manpower going to the location to make sure that the space continues to stay activated.
So I'm saying in the middle of the night when everybody's sleeping, who's there? Which manpower? Is it NOPD? Is it somebody code enforcement? Is it city staff? Because I hear things in the middle of the night. I call in the shootings that happen at 1 a.m. So I know nobody from no law enforcement is out there. They wouldn't be out there shooting at each other.
Well,
So what happens then?
what I was told by the community is that we cannot fence that location in that area because we want to use that location in that area. So there is no funding in place from anybody that I've spoken to build up fencing or any other barriers in the area. We don't put up fencing.
Well, I'm not asking for that because I don't think that's the solution.
No. Well, the solution that we have come up with is activation of the space, making sure that signage and things are in place so that we can put up and allow the community to use the space. I mean, honestly, what needs to happen is that we find a way, and I've spoken to persons from the community, even activation of making that parking spaces. And there's ways that you can use signage and also fees to make sure that those things become parking spaces that the community continues to use to be able to enforce those locations.
But they already use them as parking and the community already goes under there. There's a group of guys that plays dominoes on the back of the truck probably 4 or 5 times a week. Community is under there from time to time. I get that. But they are not policing people who are sleeping there.
No, the job isn't to police the people. The job will be to contact and say, hey, we have an individual who is underneath the bridge. You send manpower. And if it's not us, then it will be NOPD or some other outreach team who comes down there to try to make sure that we connect the individual to services.
So I can call you at 2 a.m.
I'm
on
not
your
at
cell.
2 a.m.
And then you're gonna come out. That's when stuff.
The following morning, if you call me and say we have an individual in this area doing working hours and I can get down there, yes, I'll show up.
Okay.
Is it possible to hire someone to patrol the area? Especially, okay, if this is happening on the 9th of February, at least for maybe a month or two to make sure that nobody comes back. Usually you hear that there's not enough money, there's no funding. I'm not hearing that now. I'm hearing that you got whatever you wanted. There's 15 million and another 15 million coming. So hire, there's a lot of people that could use that job. It's a security job where they just circle that block and make sure nobody, and their purpose is to make sure nobody sets roots there.
To protect your business exclusively, baby?
I think
So-
Councilman Harris has a.
Okay.
What I would say to Ms. Stelly and Ms. Thomas is take a look at the VA where they have landscaping and you will see that nobody has set up tents or anything on that landscaping. So that space is activated. So if we can come up with a plan that activates that space, and I know that there are plans out there to activate underneath the corridor, and that that is happening actually in a different part of the corridor, you will see that people actually do not camp. We see that over, for example, by the Welcome to New Orleans sign. We've cleared that site, landscaped it. Nobody has gone back on that site. So there are ways to get there. And then as for NOPD should probably be at this meeting. Certainly, we're going to invite them to the January 22nd meeting. And what I would encourage NOPD to do, and we're about to do that in my district, is to actually walk through the encampments so that they can see that there are known drug dealers, there are known criminals in those encampments that are harming the people who are there and who are making it worse. So I think NOPD does need to do a walkthrough.
Well, the drug dealers don't stay there. They drive up.
No, you know what they do? They take over tents, they sell out of the tents, and then they leave. And this is a true fact. I've talked to my commanders, and they've caught people who are selling drugs in the encampments through a tent and then go home to Eastover.
Well, I would invite you to walk with us because I
Happy
have
to.
had to drive around drug dealers and also get out of my car and help people who have just taken those drugs onto the curb so that they do not get hit.
In
So I
traffic.
see it.
Yep.
I live with it.
Yeah.
I know what's there.
Listen, I go to crazy, and Ms. Thomas knows this, I go to Crazy Plant Bay all the time. I know the area. And we've seen in my area, we know who the drug dealers are. We need NOPD to go out and do stings to take those people out.
I would invite the whole council to walk with us and do a walk audit with us under the interstate, because relying on other people's eyes and ears is not like seeing it for yourself. So I'll send out an invitation, and I hope that you guys will certainly walk with us, because there's more to it.
100% agree, and I'll be there.
Thank you.
She won't buy them houses.
Councilmember Green, and after Councilmember Green, we're gonna open up for public comment.
I'll open up for public comment, but saying this, I mean, we recognize it. I don't have to do a walk. I recognize, I see it.
It's not
I see-
being there.
Oh, it's being there because I was just there this morning and I go all the time. It's not really rocket science. We recognize that the people in tents are being preyed on by drug users and drug dealers. Many of them are drug users in some respects, but also I think that cleaning it up does make a difference. But it is important to recognize, and the Claiborne Avenue merchants, as we build, will have to think about this too. There are areas where people hire private details to support their businesses, because that's the only way you're gonna get 24-hour treatment. At the end of the day, it's gonna have to be based on a detail, such as it's done in other areas. But we can talk about that, and maybe there is funding, but not necessarily specifically for just 3 or 4 blocks. You'd have to go all the way down to other areas where they have the same concerns. So the most important thing is that I just wanted to let you know that we hear it. It's a challenge, but I kind of do want to remind everybody of this, because sometimes a lot of it gets dumped on the city council and even state government. The federal government in Martin versus Boise said that you cannot arrest someone for being homeless or unhoused. We have these expressions saying, oh, we're not going to be able to arrest our way out of this. Well, it's not only that you don't want to, you can't. So we have to work with Nathaniel Fields, with Unity, with Travelers, with the health department, because the law is clear. It was decided in 2018 by no less an authority than the United States Supreme Court. And then by refusing to review that decision in 2019, the Supreme Court sent a message. They are not changing that. If you don't have housing alternatives for those who are unhoused, you cannot charge them with the crime for being unhoused. So we have a lot of responsibility, but we're moving in the right direction. We did the right thing at Tchoupitoulas. I really don't know what people are saying when they say it didn't work. It worked very well. At the end of the day, the people who were there, when the cleanup happened, there were rats moving from all over the place. It was almost a laugh that where was the rat going to come from next? Those people are now in housing. They are now in places where they can be reached. They have addresses. They have water that's flowing. They can use the bathroom in something other than the bags, which I saw this morning, the black bags that were serving as toilets. They can use that. So we are moving in the right direction, but I want to let everybody know that we hear quite clearly. And Treme is our concern. Treme, because it's the next place to go, really should have been the first place to go, but that's another issue. It's the next place to go, and we're very serious about it. And since the day that I took office and learned what we were not doing as a city, I recognized that we could do so much more if we came together. And we have in place right now somebody who's very motivated and the health department who's motivated. And I'm glad to hear the results of this morning's meeting. I think that on February 9th, we're going to do that at Claiborne, and then we're just going to continue to do it in other areas. Again, not because we have any antipathy toward those who are unhoused. We want to help them. And the worst place for them to be is an encampment where they are preyed upon by those who want to take advantage of the fact that there's no law and order in them. Okay, that's all.
Thank you, Councilman.
Can you get from this off? We ain't heard nothing about from the home. And that's what a lot of people talk. We want to hear from law. Bring her up there. We need an explanation from her. Get her to the table right now.
Okay, all right. Gotcha, Mr. Baptiste. Ms. Kegel, would you kindly come up to the mic if you're able to just answer a few questions. Listen. And we're going out. You're not out of order. You're not out of order. Not out of order. But we're gonna do this. I appreciate it, Mr. Baptiste. We'll let Ms. Kegel say her piece, and we're gonna keep it in order. And no one is out of order, so you're good.
Thank you for allowing me to speak, and I hear that I was.
If you can sit, you can. You want to sit?
Oh, you want me to sit? Okay.
While she's doing that, I'm gonna just this came from the New Orleans Health Department. Just a couple of things from that department. It says NOHD environmental health staff who oversees and participates in regular encampment remediations have identified the following critical health hazards as being routinely encountered: communicable diseases, foodborne illnesses, animal-associated diseases, motor vehicle injuries, violent assault injuries, and substance abuse disorders. On the Claiborne overpass between Ursuline and Esplanade, from January 1st to November 1st of last year, this is on Claiborne, there have been 16 overdose calls, 14 shootings, 10 deaths, 40 total serious incidents, and at the time was estimated 60 residents. And they have the Treme encampment experienced 40 life-threatening or deadly incidents over 10 months, whereas the Calliope corridor recorded 27. So the Calliope corridor, here are numbers for that area, again, according to the health department. Another 16 overdose calls, 1 shooting, 10 deaths, 27 total serious incidents, and there was an estimated 121 residents in that encampment. So we are not here to victimize those who are unhoused or homeless, but this is a serious situation for not only those in the encampments, but those who live, work, and play in the neighborhoods surrounding the encampments. So we all want the same thing. We want to make that clear. And these are numbers from the health department, how unhealthy and sometimes deadly these encampments could be for everyone involved.
Can we start with where they from?
So yeah, let them introduce themselves and
Where they from? Born, raised.
Mr. Coleman and ask anybody else.
It's imperative.
Thank you. I'm Martha Cagle. I'm the Director of Unity, and like Nate Fields, I am a native of Baltimore, Maryland. I've been in New Orleans since 1981, and this is Angela Patterson.
I was born and raised in New Orleans. I actually was raised in the 7th Ward, 1638 North Prayer Street, to be particular, a couple of blocks from the Circle Food Store.
And I'm Valerie Coffin. I'm a transplant of 17 years living in New Orleans. And I've lived in various places, including Baltimore and Dallas.
What's various places? Don't be so. Where you from? That's what we asked.
Cole, that's not really germane to.
The public servant and can't answer the question. That's not moving. Where you from, ma'am?
I'm originally from Massachusetts.
Thank you.
Okay. Ms. Cagle, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. Unity was founded 31 years ago, and we oversee a collaborative of about 50 organizations, including governmental organizations as well as nonprofits that all work together to provide housing and services for people experiencing homelessness. And over the years, we have succeeded in getting competitive grants from HUD that are currently housing about 3,500 people a year. So just like the Housing Authority, most of our resources are going to keep people in housing who were rescued out of homelessness in past years. But we were really fortunate through a big community effort over a year ago. Our community was selected by HUD for a special award that is going to provide enough new resources to house an additional 420 people. And we just got that contract from HUD. Thank God. And so with that, we will be able to house 420 new people off the street. And given the fact that our point in time count January a year ago showed 523 people on the street, and given the fact that Nate Fields and the city have done a wonderful job of expanding the low barrier shelter and actually took 150 people off the street and placed them in low barrier shelter last year. So the count will already be, I think, significantly down in January, even though we don't yet have access to the new HUD funds. We don't have access to them yet because the way the whole process works is that we subcontract those to other nonprofits, and then they have to hire their staff before they can actually receive clients. Because we don't just place people in apartments, we also have case managers who are there to really help people become stably housed, be good tenants, get the health care and the mental health care and the substance use treatment they needed, get them jobs if they can work, get them disability benefits if they can't work, get them reunited with family, get them re-involved in the community doing volunteer work, getting connected to a congregation if they would like to be involved with a religious congregation. And so those case managers are just really key to the success of our efforts. And actually, we have one of the higher, success rates in the country. Our current stats show that 95% of our clients stay stably housed. We're always looking for ways to improve on that because of course we're most worried about the people, the 5% that don't stay stably housed. They tend to have the most complex problems. But the good news is that by working together, our community is well positioned, I think, to have one of the lowest rates of homelessness in the country for a significant sized city. And that is in great part to the efforts of the city government. The city putting in additional rapid rehousing funds, the city hiring their consultant Clutch to really work on the encampments. And of course, Nate is key to all those efforts as well. So while there has been, there were some disagreements about some things that happened in the first encampment effort, I would agree that overall it was successful in housing a lot of people. And, we're looking forward to moving forward on that effort, as well as the work of housing all the unsheltered people on the street who aren't in encampments, which most of the people who are on the street in our city, as well as Jefferson Parish, which is part of our collaborative, are actually not in large encampments. They're off in the neighborhoods, off to themselves, 1 or 2 or 3 people at a time. And actually, we have an even larger number of people who are living in homeless shelters, and they're part of our, our work as well. So every day we're housing, not only working on this encampment, which is our biggest effort right now, but we and our partners are always working on housing people across the entire 2-parish area, and not just the adults out on the street, but the adults in shelter, the families in shelter, the families that are living in their cars, the people who are fleeing domestic violence, who are homeless. And, you know, a lot of people that people don't necessarily think of when they think of the word homeless or unhoused are all part of what we're working on. So we're very optimistic that these numbers are going to go significantly down because I think there's more of a partnership than there ever has been. Just want to turn it over to Angela, you know, to talk a little bit more about the work of the outreach teams and the housing effort because she oversees that every day.
Thank you, Martha. I'm Angela Patterson, and I'm a native New Orleanian since that seems to be really significant. And I've always considered it to be my most important feature, okay? I care very deeply, as do all the other people that I work with, and especially the members of my outreach team. These people who I work with are true heroes in our city. They really do a lot of hard work by themselves without police protection in the middle of the night in the most dangerous areas frequently in our city. And they're out there and they're totally committed. And they not only do not stop actively, I hate to use the word work with, because when you have developed a close, caring relationship with another human being, it stops just being your job. It becomes something that you do because you care about them as a human being. I've seen over and over again, many instances of bringing people from a suffering homeless encampment or on a street corner or under a bridge and helping that person deal with whatever problems and situations help bring them to that point. So I just really would like to applaud the effort. Joycelyn Scott is actually in the chambers with me. And the 3 outreach workers that Unity presently employs, Clarence White III, Jeremy Finnegan, and Joycelyn Scott, just 3 workers on our team. They do a tremendous amount of work. And they work sometimes on weekends, all into the early hours of the morning. It's just incredible the amount of assistance that they offer. And they don't say no to situations that most other people would not go into. So I have nothing but pride in their work and in their diligence, and they have been in the camp consistently working this whole time that there supposedly was a stoppage. That's how the 27 people got housed prior to our mutual agreement to go forward with the plan.
So piggyback off of that, it is Unity's understanding as well that the 9th will be the cutoff, the closure date.
We readily agreed to that.
I just want to make, I'm good with that, Ms. Patterson. Want to make sure for those in the audience and those watching. I do have a few questions. I'm gonna do the public comment. What is Unity's involvement with the Treme community? I do know there is a People's Council of the Unhoused that you all consult with. Do you all consult with the Treme community about their concerns and about their needs as well?
I haven't, and I'm sorry about that, but I know one of the outreach workers, Clarence White III, was born in the Treme area, went to Bell School, went to Clark Junior High, talks about being in the band, and continues to have close relationships with many people of his former living community. So yes, we have roots there too, all over the city.
I will say, you know, you had asked us to send a Unity representative to the meeting last night, and we did have 3 Unity representatives there who included Clarence White, as well as Jeremy Finnegan, another outreach worker, and Joe Heron Mueller, who's our Director of Community Engagement. And I know that Joe has previously met with the Treme community as part of his job as Director of Community Engagement, and he is here today as well.
So I appreciate that, but we had a meeting and it was stated that you all collaborate with the People's Council.
Yes.
Gotta chill out. I got
Yes,
20
we have a People's Council, which is a council of people with lived experience who are either currently unhoused or recently were unhoused. And that is something that is definitely something that we are morally committed to. It's also something that the federal government really likes to see. And in fact, we would not have been able to get that wonderful unsheltered homelessness grant if it weren't for the People's Council. They played a critical role, and that was a big part of why HUD gave us the grant, was because of their role.
In fact, several of those individuals from the People's Council are here in the chambers today.
Okay, and if they would like to hold, they pull a card out, but can we get input from the residents who are, you heard from business owners and residents who are affected. But then you hear from one side of the story, sometimes you don't get the full picture.
Sure.
So we can do that moving forward. Also, I want to know, is there any data, and this is important to me, showing if the people that you help, I'll just come out and say it. I get a lot of people saying the folks under the bridge aren't from here.
They're not.
From all over, they come from all over because of the weather. They can live more freely in New Orleans. So they choose to come out here. So are we helping, are we putting money in our
Yes.
resources
Thank you, brother.
into the people who are here struggling, barely hanging on? Because it feels like we're going to the I talked to several folks under the bridge. Personally, I haven't met one from the city. The closest was St. James Parish. And I feel that's close enough. I mean, that's close, but it's not here. I want to see our resources going to those people who are from here, who are, like you said, sofa to sofa, house to house, barely making it.
Yeah.
Can we focus? What's the plan to focus on?
That's the best thing you
those?
said since you've been up there.
Well, one thing I want to say is that our HUD grants currently don't allow us to serve people who are at risk of homelessness. They have to be literally homeless in order to qualify for our grants. So that is definitely something we would love to see, the city try to continue to do more for that, because it's actually the scarcity of affordable housing that has been shown over and over again in research to be the primary initial cause of homelessness, although certainly having a mental illness or a substance use disorder is a compounding factor, but the major factor is the shortage of affordable housing. But we are really committed to always trying to make sure that our resources are going first to our people. But of course, we also are required by the federal government to serve people who are in our community, living in our community, regardless of whether they were born here.
Sure.
So that's actually one of the major reasons why, when the city approached us and asked us to partner with them on closing the Tchoupitoulas camp, we said, we want the Treme camp to be right there with it. We want that to be the next project then. Because we were aware of the fact that the Tchoupitoulas camp, although I think there were really good reasons for prioritizing that, both because of, first of all, for our concern, it was because the health department had shown us data showing that there was more deaths in that camp than any other. And we are required by the federal government to prioritize our resources based on vulnerability of people. So that was our reason. That was the health department's reason as well. But we also understand that there was a significant economic development issue as well. And that's an important issue. We don't totally understand that homelessness in our community is bad for everybody. It's bad for the people experiencing it as unhoused people, but it's also very bad for the quality of life. And I think the Treme neighborhood situation is a perfect example of that, where it's really impacting people who live in the neighborhood and it's impacting businesses. And we are acutely aware that you know, that neighborhood is just really culturally significant, and it's always been Unity's philosophy that we pay a lot of attention to the racial impact of everything, and we try to make sure that our work is done really equitably, and we try to make sure that we're really looking for the people in our community, the native New Orleanians who are homeless, and making them a big priority, even though we're required by the federal government to serve everyone. So, you know, that's the reason why we're so passionate. And I'm afraid that there's been some impression created that we were not passionate, but we are very passionate about the Treme community. And it was Unity actually that asked the city to prioritize that encampment. So that really needs to be understood, that this is a real passion of ours, that we have worked so hard on this, that we never stopped working on it, that since November 20th, we've housed with our partners 27 people from that encampment, which is actually, when you consider that that period included Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's, is actually a faster housing rate than the rate at which we were able to house people over the 7 weeks of the Tchoupitoulas effort. So, and we are doubling down and stepping up even more. 35 more people need to be housed by February 9th. We are, you know, hoping to do it even faster than that. I don't know if we can, but we are determined to do all that, because we understand that not only are the people in that camp suffering, but the people in the neighborhood are suffering, and the business owners are suffering. And, you know, we have had a long-standing relationship with Mr. Charbonnet. Mr. Charbonnet has actually been, you know, really helpful to us. And we are, you know, a lot of our staff came from that neighborhood or live in that neighborhood, and this is a high priority for us. We are always very concerned about the impact of our work on the people who live here first and foremost.
Also, in addition to what Martha has said, those 35 people who remain on the site have already been assigned to housing workers and case management workers, so that the work is going on even as we speak.
If we could pause there, Ms. Angela Patterson, that's my question. Those 35 are people saying, I was once housed in Treme or in the East or in Algiers, and now I'm on the streets? Or is it, I'm from another part of the country and I want, and who are we serving? That's my concern, my question. Who are we serving?
For real.
Okay, Councilman, we have been working diligently, meaning the Unity outreach workers and Travelers Aid workers, to make sure that the people who are on that list, the prioritized list, those 35 remaining people have been in that camp for a very long period of time, and that they have been seen by outreach, worked with outreach, and have been actively involved and have been on that site, okay?
I should also mention, just to clarify, that the health department presented us with data showing that the Treme camp also had a high death rate, which was critical to our
10
decision as
people
well to prioritize it, because we
Make them answer you.
we have to have
Yes.
information
Cause
that
we be out there
people
asking.
in that camp
They
are
from
particularly
home.
vulnerable.
They from
And that-
Iowa, they from Missouri. We be asking.
I don't have actual data from you on this, but our outreach workers tell me that the percentage of people who are from New Orleans, or at least Louisiana, Mississippi Gulf Coast, from the
No,
Treme
Mississippi
camp
Gulf Coast,
are
that ain't
higher
Orleans.
than certainly who was in the Tchoupitoulas camp. The Tchoupitoulas camp was definitely mostly outsiders. But again, there were a lot of vulnerable people in the Tchoupitoulas
No,
camp.
I don't wanna make people think that don't care about human life
Right.
and vulnerable people, men, women, children. I just wanna make sure our resources are going here. And I understand federally you contracted to help whoever. I just wanna make sure that we're looking out for the people here. And I know you said you can't go to the people who are almost homeless, they have to be homeless first. I didn't know that, so thank you for that information. But I do talk to people, and not personally. I haven't talked to everyone. I've never spoken to a person who said, I'm from here. I was living in a house.
Freddie,
and now-
Arkansas, Missouri, Homer,
So I just want to make that point. I haven't talked to a person who was here, who was looking for a house here, and as a result, they're now homeless. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying I talked to everyone. That's all I'm saying. But
We
Councilman,
can introduce you to plenty of people.
So Councilmember King, I will say this, I've been in the encampments. I've spoken to people who were formerly my neighbors, but were pushed out of their apartments by nefarious landlords, and, you know, Josh Bruno comes up a lot. Those are people who are from here.
$2,500.
There are people who are from here, who are in the encampments, who were born here, who have lost their social structures and help, and have burned bridges a lot of times. I'd also encourage you to go to Hope House, where there are a lot of mothers and children who are from here, who have escaped horrible, brutal situations, and they are from here. They're from New Orleans, and so, you know, listen, I don't know what people want to do. I don't know if you want to ship folks back to Iowa. We can't do that.
Till we resolve this.
You can come by my house, Byron, you can come by my house anytime you want.
You don't just stay by your house and defecate and urinate till we resolve this.
all right,
I have homeless people in my neighborhood, so you can be sure about that.
With 14 shootings and 17 overdoses, you don't have that.
once Councilman Harris wraps up, then we'll do the.
So my point is that there are people who are cousins, our fathers, our brothers, who are in those encampments who need help just as much as somebody who is from Iowa. So let's not get it twisted that it's all just foreigners or people who aren't from New Orleans who are inhabiting these encampments.
That is
That's not true. That's not true.
That
That's
is true.
simply not
We
true.
got stones when we ask them
So,
where they
Mr.
from.
Cole, your number 4 on the list. Oh, so first,
Give me some data, cause you're a professional.
your
I
wife,
tell you, I got a video where I can show you Arkansas, Missouri.
Mrs. Cole first for public
Mr.
comment.
Cole, Mr. Cole, if you have a survey of every homeless, person out there, where you said, you can tell where they're from, I'm happy to look at that data. Happy to meet with you at any time. You can send me the video.
Every comment you just made about concern for New Orleans, that's what you just did.
I did not.
Yeah, you said, I know plenty of people, you're lying.
I'm not lying.
You're lying.
I just told
You're
you.
lying. Documented, you're lying. I don't believe you on the merit that you are a city council.
Mrs. Cole,
You're lying. You up there using your life.
2 minutes, Mrs.
You come with the survey.
Mr.
You're
Cole,
professional speaking.
Mr. Cole, I'm happy to talk with you and look at your videos.
Mr. Byron Cole, you're fourth on the public comment. First, your wife is first. Mrs. Cole, the floor is yours.
Happy 2/4 to all. I'll start there. Today is a very special day for Mama D. Those who know Mama D. If you love Mama D, pay respects to Mama D. It's her born day. She fought for us to the end, and we're still fighting. That's a shame, New Orleans. So, Mama D, I want to take a 2-minute, my whole 2 minutes of silence and respect to Diane French Cole, who we need to honor. Okay, thank y'all. And when it's done, you can sit me down. Diane French Cole, say her name, fought a fight that we are still fighting. Black New Orleans, please wake up. I'm not talking to nobody else, not white, not Arabic, not Chinese, not Asian, not Spanish, Black, Indigenous, New Orleans, fight for what we own, for what we built. Where y'all at? When we gonna get some reciprocity? When we gonna stop helping everybody else? When we gonna stop letting these transplants come here and dictate? We don't need your help, baby. We got this. And we gonna show y'all that we got this. I'm gonna go back to my silence. Mama D, Diane French Cole, New Orleans. Not Lola, not transplant, non-Indigenous, please shut up. stop speaking for us. You don't know what we feel. You don't know what we've been through, but you do. You from New Orleans. These two ain't got your best interest. You just a puppet. No disrespect, but you're a puppet.
Thank you,
And
Mrs.
so
Cole.
are the others, puppets.
Thank you, Mrs. Cole.
Oh.
Yes,
Thank you.
Brianna Briggs, People's Counsel. And just, I just want to clarify a point. I'm not concerned where someone is so much from, but if you were living here 4 or 5 years ago and now you're homeless, that's what I want to hear. I'll stop. Miss Briggs, you're for.
Thank you, Mama D. Hello, y'all. I think everyone is mad at the wrong person. Everyone is passing the blame to other people instead of joining together and helping. The city, our native residents, we have lost faith in the city. Homelessness is a problem for everybody. You want rent payment from homelessness. And so I don't feel like the issue is they don't want to see help. They don't want to see us help the homeless. The issue is they want restored faith in the city. They want restored faith in the people who are supposed to help us, the people who are supposed to have our best interests. Our culture, it is unsafe. It starts as a young kid. You see a lot growing up here. You see how people are not helping. Katrina, the pandemic, numerous of disasters. It might rain today, it might rain tomorrow. The problem is not, I don't feel, blame those who need help. The problem is help those who need help those who are trying to help themselves, help the city be a city again, help this restore faith in the city, hope. It is a lack of. No one believes in anything anymore, and I guess we're just saying, allow us to get that feedback, allow business owners to have clean neighborhoods, clean streets. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Briggs. Mr. Ronald Fortune Senior. That Fortuné? I saw the hyphen at the end. Fortuné.
How you guys doing today? Hope everybody is well. With all due respect to the council members and all that is here, I hear a lot of anger, frustration, and lots of people are really fed up with what's going on, of course. But there are resolutions that hasn't been really looked into, and if it has, it's been pushed to the side due to the fact that politics, disagreement among groups, not working together. So, you know, if you work together as a team, from this lady, what she said, I listened to her and all the things that she said they do with their organization, $15 million is a dump in the bucket. It's nothing versus what's really needed for the homeless problem. I know there's mental patients, drug addicts, and some people that are just caught up in inflation. So with all of those things going on, you have to realize it's a large, I mean, it's throughout the whole city. It's all over the country. And, you know, maybe the lady was right about how many things that they've done, 85%, whatever she said, as to helping the homeless and people that need housing. I know in Austin, I went out there, and in Houston and places I've been, I've seen so many homeless is nothing. I mean, this is nothing compared to that. California is even worse right now. So what my resolution is, you know, as a team, you guys could do a better job. And I'm not knocking what y'all doing, because right now when you sit at night, that's something positive enough to hear after all this time this has been going on, finally making a step towards really cleaning up Treme. You know, Treme, I'm from Treme. I was born and raised there all my life. At this point, it's good to see that's going to be cleaned up, like the other lady said, Miss Amy, that
If you could wrap up, Mr. Fortuné, please.
I'm sorry.
You could wrap up.
All right. Actually, I was trying to go back on all the things that I was talked about, because you know, to come to a resolution to say they're homeless and they're living in tents. And there's a part A, that you guys are doing, we're putting them in housing. Maybe a part B, but a part C wouldn't hurt. And all I was trying to say, and what I came up with was to make an encampment. The city has property that's not being used, huge lots. You know, build an encampment, you know, something that's humane as you guys are trying to do, and have everything that they need. You know, you have housing, with the tents or whatever, you have doctoring, you have nursing, you have everything that those people need, facility to use the restroom, and it can be a large encampment similar to what they have out there that they made themselves.
Thank you, Mr. Fortunato.
That's my idea. Thank you.
We appreciate it. Thank you. Mr. Byron Cole.
Good morning.
Morning.
So in 24, I'm gonna change my tactics because the stakes are very high. And so if cussing stops people from hearing what I have to say, I'm not gonna cuss. But I am gonna say that there are some issues that nobody has discussed. Like, I'm gonna give you a fair chance, my first time meeting you, right? The program that you guys have that allows the landlord to get their properties involved, you have no link that empowers the renter. And so I got 5 women in my DM right now that's having odds with a landlord, and y'all just out of it, like y'all don't have nothing to do with it. But you sponsored that. And so there's mold, there's cockroaches under the paint. And these women are complaining to me because they come to you and you tell them that's an issue between them and the landlord. But the landlord getting all their money, y'all getting all y'all funding. You said you were raised on North Prairie. You still there? I bet you if you still live there, that camp would have gotten hit first. Yeah, I appreciate that. And I'm not gonna disrespect you because I could see you in New Orleans, but I bet you if you still live there in your family house, I bet you that encampment will be gone. Now, Mr. Fields, she threw you under the bus and told us that federal requirements said that due to the health concerns that by funding, they should have started where we live. But y'all brought them up there at Tchoupitoulas. She threw you under the bus. Mr. The gentleman with you,
Walker.
Jabari, and you, sir, I mean no harm. These statements are from my good nature. Both of y'all are in my DM multiple times with your statements at last night's meeting. And let me tell you exactly what they're saying about you. They're saying, B, you saw this white boy talking to our elders? Brother, this is New Orleans. You gotta be careful. I don't care who you work for. We have strict codes about how we treat our elders and our family. You will want to learn that. They ain't telling you what's really going on here. Mr. Fields.
You can wrap up, Mr. Cole.
If you, sir, are an expert on homelessness because you were an addict and that you fought yourself from homelessness, then my question is to the mayor and the city council, why the hell did we have to go look for somewhere else for somebody who's an expert on homelessness and addiction, and we from New Orleans? I know Todd Jaluk was working in the DA's office, a recovery, and there's buku other people. And so what we're not gonna do anymore, sir, and I'm gonna be done, is allow them to maintain without accountability when we can have gauges put in place. So the recidivism rate that she spoke, that is almost non-existent, we wanna see that in a report. We wanna see that. Because see, it's ludicrous to me to eradicate homelessness and start with the bottom rung of it, the most adversely affected, the addicts. And a year from now, them people who y'all putting in the apartments under the bridge, they not gonna have no home, brother. And we use tax money to do that. And I got 20 women in my DM with homes from Unity that can't say nothing. They can't cry out and complain about the unfit because Unity has made it an issue between them and the landlord. And because Unity is some of everybody, including y'all, the government. So ain't nobody gonna step on their own toes for the little black girl with the 4 babies. Unity needs to be audited. We wanna know what the administration costs are. And we want to, I can't believe I'm gonna say it, but government's too big in New Orleans, man. When we can come up with malarkey plans like this,
At the time, Mr. Cole.
I'ma leave, but I got one thing to tell y'all. The reason why they're not in Jefferson Parish is because the homeless people told me, Jefferson Parish told them, y'all better go to New Orleans with that. And the reason why they're not on the lakefront by the white people is because the levee board tell them they're gonna arrest them, but you can't arrest people for being homeless. And the reason why they're not down by the food stamp office and the hospital and the resources they need is because the mayor put a gate up there to block them from being there where nobody lived, where they weren't affecting anyone's business. And they drove them to our neighborhood.
Thank you, Mr. Cole.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Jack Reno Sweeney? Sweeney?
You have no accountability. She having a midlife crisis.
Mr. Sweeney is followed by, Mr. Anthony Thomas.
Name's Jack Reno Sweeney. I'm speaking on behalf of New Orleans DSA, an all-volunteer organization of some like 400, 500 dues-paying members here in New Orleans. I'm here today because I read.
His address. He can't speak without his address. That's the law.
Come on, y'all.
What's his address? What's his address, Freddie? That's the law.
Yes.
Do I have to give my address?
Yes,
No, technically, according to ordinance, you do, and we don't enforce it as much as we should.
it's the law.
I would also like you to state DSA, what it stands for.
Democratic Socialists of America, sir.
So
Where is that located?
New Orleans.
No, is that at like a home, a housing,
Oh, it's on Columbus is our office address.
what's your address?
Columbus?
It's the ordinance. What's your address?
I think he said Columbus, Mr. Cole.
You didn't give an address.
You know that,
I read the ordinance.
you
What's
did,
the
you
address?
know the address. Well, Bill, if you could research it and then come back and let us know.
Yeah, you have to give an address to speak.
But he could, we'll let him speak, Mr. Cole.
No, he got to prove.
But he gave us
everything.
Columbus.
So he's breaking the law.
3514 Paul Myra Street, New Orleans, Louisiana, 70119 is my home
Thank
address.
you. Comply with the law, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Sweeney. Continue, please.
All right, okay, I'll just keep it short.
You got, can you start this 2 minutes?
Thank you. I read the NOLA coverage this morning. That's why I'm here. I wasn't planning on coming, but I thought it was important too. So I don't pretend to know what's going on behind the scenes on the city side, on y'all's side. But I do know it takes the city over a year to pave a street. So to see, as Councilmember Morel put it, the circular firing squad going on of officials blaming Unity and all this, it's frustrating and offensive. You know, this housing effort that we're talking about started in November, the holidays in the middle of that. This is a Herculean effort. And the housing problem is an issue. I'd say the main issue, the root cause of this crisis. It's hard to find sustainable housing. Landlords aren't always willing to rent to people who are formerly unhoused. This housing issue affects the whole city. It's hard for me to find an affordable house, and I have basically every advantage in the world. But I'd love it if the council could actively help these orgs locate the housing. If Councilmember Green has access to a list or network, I'd love to see this collaboration and get this rolling. But I do think that rushing this process is pretty irresponsible. I fear that these hard deadlines, we risk shifting blame to the advocacy organizations and to the homeless themselves. That really belongs to generations of city officials, not necessarily anyone up here, but generations of city officials who have neglected this issue, housing, mental health, et cetera. Unhoused people aren't criminals by virtue of not having anywhere to go, and I'm sensitive to the real issues and hazards that do sometimes occur. But we can't paint them all with a broad brush and treat them all like there's some pernicious evildoers and 6 state troopers on them. The majority are regular people who are suffering. I've broken bread with these folks. I've shared meals with these folks. I know they don't deserve that. This issue didn't appear out of thin air. It's the result of decades of neglecting affordable housing, and it's happening everywhere across the country. I'm worried the unhoused, the majority who have done nothing wrong, will be punished for this instead if that hard deadline proves impractical. I'm already hearing people talk about bringing in troopers or even taking dangerous vigilante action to clear encampments, and that's horrifying to me. I hope this council makes it clear that that's not acceptable. Just finally, I've been in a lot of really rowdy city council meetings, but I've never seen this amount of interruptions. I've never seen y'all put up with this before. it's not fair, you know, we're all supposed to get our 2 minutes. This has kind of been a bit of a farce. I know it's not your fault, but I've seen y'all draw a harder line before. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sweeney. I don't know if anyone suggested bringing in a state troopers. Okay, someone mentioned that last night. All right, that's Anthony Thomas. Mr. Thomas still? Thomas.
How y'all doing? My name is Anthony Thomas. I'm here on behalf of, people who have handicappers, who out there who need help. I was one of the ones who I'm a diabetic. I lived out there for 4 years, on the streets. Wasn't able to get my medicine, my insulin, it was just hard for me. And I think, they need to come up with a solution, people with handicaps, you know what I'm saying, that need help, the people out there with no legs, amputations, I just got a part amputated off, off me. So, we just need to come up with some type of solution, towards the handicapped people, they need help too. We all need help. We ain't gonna come, we're not gonna get nowhere fighting, fussing. Just need help. We need help, man. So, I mean, I'm just here, like I said, I'm the voice for the people, the handicapped people.
May I ask a question?
Yes.
Sure, yeah.
It does look like you want me to, you sure?
Oh, no. Don't read it.
No, I'm sorry. And it's just because of the way Councilman King looked at. I don't really want to stretch it out so much. But may I ask, were you in an encampment or were you living on the streets?
I was living on the streets.
So you were not in a group of people. You were living at an apartment, at somebody's,
I was living in a shed, a tin shed.
A private shed.
A private shed, a abandoned shed.
Have you
No
been,
electricity, no
have
nothing.
you been in contact with representatives of Unity of Greater New Orleans?
Yes, I have. And they helped me out a whole lot. They
Okay.
did.
So are you now in an apartment?
Yes, I am. But I'm still speaking for the ones that are not.
And so they should also reach out to Unity, right?
Some of them have.
And
No, they're not getting the results.
this is an important meeting. Councilman King has reported an important meeting. I'm asking you to speak to someone from Unity. They're here. What you say is what I have to accept because what you said, but at the end of the day, if there are people who are unhoused, who have disabilities that I'm sure that they can be gotten into housing, we don't want to have situations where people are unhoused and don't take advantage of the potential resources that there are to get housed. That's all. I just encourage you. This was the meeting. There is somebody here. There are 3 people who are sitting here and other councilors from Unity. If you are representing others, I wish you had a list of them with their addresses where they are. But if they are unhoused, it has to be unhoused because it is a Unity of Greater New Orleans program drawn by the federal government. But in your situation, you said you were given help. Please help the others that you know by making sure that they get the information to somebody today.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Mr. Ricky Powell. Mr. Ricky Powell. Ricky Powell. Not here. Mr. Michael Willis.
Y'all doing? It's Michael Willis. Born and raised West Bank, New Orleans, 1974, May 4th, 1928 Merle Street, Lil Whitney, second floor, apartment A. All right. I've been homeless twice in my life, 9 years old and 15. And I was taken in by other families that took care of me and my community. The village stepped up and became a village. All right. I don't know the whole ordeal with everybody. I don't believe in pointing fingers and just yelling all day. The only problem I have with my friend is that he have his minutes, let everybody else have their minutes. And let's just respect that and move on. What y'all doing about transitional housing? All right? Like we have several schools that were just shut down, right? So is it any way that we can utilize some of these facilities for treatment programs or places that we can really house some people? You know what I'm saying? Like, we have a lot of stuff in this city that's resourceful. And from what I'm hearing, you all got paid something, but somebody's not keeping up with y'all books. You know what I'm saying? So that's where everything, nobody's being transparent, where basically you all, well, ma'am, you seem like you have all the power, right? It seemed like it seemed like you have all the power. So what's really going on with the funding, and what are y'all gonna do about transitional? Can y'all come up with an idea like for transitional housing, you know what I'm saying, for the people? And if you need to, and it's not just about transitional housing. They're gonna need wraparound services, you know. Listen, I see this every day. I've been to over 70 kids' funerals. So my reality, I might be somewhere far-fetched but I've been homeless before. I understand how it is. And I was a child. But that was my mom condition that put us in that condition.
Right.
And a lot of people just think that some people that's homeless are this is not a new story. This is the same chapter over and over and over and over again. We just now got to figure out what we're going to do and stick to the plan and make it happen. Let's find solutions. I really don't like coming here yelling all day at people, to be honest with you.
Please wrap up, Councilman Harris.
Mr. Willis, and I'm happy to talk with you after we're all done with this, to talk about school board buildings, and how to get those repurposed. I know the school board's looking at that. The city has empty buildings that need to be repurposed. I know, Mr. Fields and I have been talking about that a lot as well. So if you stay a little bit later after the meeting, happy to talk with you about that as well as wraparound services.
Okay, if not, I'll just set up a meeting another
Sure,
time, you know?
I know we're supposed to meet anyway.
Yeah, but it's something that I just think that let's find a solution.
Yep.
We know we have a lot of problems, yeah. So, let's just figure it all out. Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Can I respond really briefly to that?
Sure.
I agree. I think that the city is definitely the better body to address that, because HUD has really moved away from funding much transitional housing. When we first were founded, they would fund that in abundance, and that was a big portion of what our housing looked like. But for many years now, they have disfavored it, not completely, but it's a lot harder to maintain or get new funding for that. And so it's not a big part of of the work that we're able to do anymore, unfortunately.
Yeah, and Martha, let me just say this, NORA has a framework for redevelopment of city-owned properties that is being modeled by the school board. I know this is not for folks who are unhoused, but the abandoned firehouse on Louisiana Avenue is being redeveloped through NORA and through a private entity. And that's going to provide seven plus units and a childcare center. So there are frameworks for this that we need to work together through the city to get these buildings back in commerce.
Thank you. I'm sorry, I skipped, no. Tiffany Smith, Miss Tiffany Smith, is she present? Tiffany Smith. James Brooks, you Tiffany Smith? Oh, I'm sorry, Tiffany Smith.
Hi, how y'all doing today? It's, like.
No, you got talking to the mic.
Oh, you can hear me now?
Bring it up some.
I'm short,
Well, be comfortable.
So it's just like a lot of pointing of fingers, and it just need a solution. And like, I've been here all my life, and I'm not gonna tell you nothing under the old lady under the tree is. I'm in the situation. I'm misplaced. I'm homeless. So it's been a back and forth thing, trying to find houses. It's like a third party. We gotta wait for this. We gotta wait for that. It's been 4 months, and I have 3 kids. So I'm on that end, and I didn't come here for me. I'm coming here just for the community, because I could put my stuff on the side, but I'm just seeing too much in the city of New Orleans that I never seen in my whole entire life. Like I said, for Katrina, I went out of town. I never seen that. I can go in the county and get help. Down here, you don't have that. You have to know Peter, just to know Tiffany, just to know Sam, just to know this person. It shouldn't be like that. It should be a wraparound community help. And we not seeing that and we not getting it. And like everybody is one paycheck from homelessness. Let's be honest. That's what it is. And if I don't go to work as a mother and I'm by myself, I won't eat. I'm gonna be homeless like I am. The children don't eat. So it comes back. So the people who have housing, they need help. We need help. Everybody is one, and then the rent is so high instead of going up. And for the moms that work $725, that's not gonna cut $1,400 rent. That's not gonna work. She gotta work 3 jobs just to meet that quota. So I just say that we have to do something, and it needs to stop pointing a finger and let's get a date. Let's get something in concrete. That's all I have to say.
Well, Ms. Smith, unfortunately, I think you heard us stated earlier, sometimes you have to, I'm not saying it's right, sometimes you have to be homeless to get help. But please talk to someone from Unity or Mr. Nathaniel Fields, Mr. Fields, try to get you some housing.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. He's right over there. You can talk to him.
I'm gonna talk to him.
Okay, well, that's your own convenience. You're welcome. James Brooks. James Brooks, followed by Miss Leona Ellis. Mr. Brooks and Mr. Ellis. Miss Ellis, Mrs. Ellis.
Good morning, ladies. How y'all doing? Good morning, council. My name is James Brooks. I'm a property owner. I live in the Tremea, grew up in the Tremea. 1434 Maria is my house. I've heard a lot of wonderful things here today from the community as well as you ladies. I believe y'all are all good attention. It seems like everybody, including y'all, have compassion for the situation. The gentleman that was here earlier talked about transitional, using, other buildings that can be repurposed, allowing for wraparound services and whatnot. As a landlord myself, I'm not going to bring somebody into my property, and I've got multiple rental properties. I'm not going to bring somebody in who signs a lease who doesn't have anything to fall back on. They come in, they damage your property. Fortunately, y'all aren't responsible after that. Maybe y'all should sign the lease. You be on the hook. So that way landlords will want to do it, because then you're responsible for the damages, for the lost rent, et cetera, not somebody who doesn't. And the idea is, a lot of people, I think most people here know that there are a significant number of people who do not want the services, who want the services, want to take advantage of the services, but don't want to really fulfill their side of the bargain, which is go to rehab, get support, be sober, be a productive member of society. I mean, I know we all want that for them, but we can take horses to water, but if they don't want to drink, we're wasting our time. And I'm coming from experience. I have a friend who's 37 years sober, lives a recovered life. He goes to 5 meetings a day online. He wakes up at 4 a.m. to go to meetings on the East Coast. He does that for other people, not just for himself. That's somebody who wants to be recovered. If somebody doesn't want to be recovered, I understand. And pain is real. That's what drives people to these distractions. So at the end of the day, we have an opportunity to do something different. We can be the model city. We're really a big town. We're not a big city. But we can be the place that we do this. We can be the place that everybody that Mr. Fields came to, because he had to believe in us. I know he had other opportunities. He came here because he believes in something. Let's support him to be successful so that we can in turn be the place where everybody says New Orleans did it. Look, San Francisco's calling us. They wanted him. LA, California, Austin, whoever. We have the ability to do it, and we're just small enough to where we can be successful. It just seems like there's all these misses between the city council and y'all. The money's obviously coming. We need more money. There's no doubt. But at the end of the day, I think with success comes, hey, look, here's the success. Our hands out. Y'all have success. Here's more money. Y'all have a program that's working. And again, if people don't want the help, I think, y'all have my social security number. Y'all have my name. You have my driver's license. If I park wrong, I get a ticket. Look, if they get services here in New Orleans, Louisiana, social security number. They don't get to go to Austin and say, it didn't work out here, I'm going to Austin to get money. You came up, you're on the national register. You don't want to make it work? Sorry, we can't help you. And no, you can't go live on the street. Thanks, y'all.
And I think Councilmember Green mentioned making it attractive for landlords. So that at Unity, that may be something, if Councilmember Green, if Unity would sign those contracts and sign those leases, I think that'd make it very lucrative for those wanting to rent to the unhoused. maybe something to think about. Ms. Ellis.
Hi, how y'all doing? Thank you guys for taking my phone calls. Thank you so much for always being there and have an ear, okay? I didn't know what I was gonna say. But I'ma tell you with Unity, and I don't want to point out a finger, but I'm gonna tell you my experience. 2010, I was fighting some medical issues, couldn't work. I had my youngest daughter living with me, 18 years old, and my son, 7 years old. I got eviction notice. So my mom said, call Unity. They had got money. I called Unity and explained to them what was going on. They told me to go live on the street. Take my daughter and son and live on the street. And they will periodically come see we living on the street. And then they will help me. I said, how does that make sense? You're not gonna help me keep the house that I'm in. You rather see me go and get in danger, put me and my son in danger and live on the street. So that was one experience. Thank the Lord, I made it through. I called Unity not long ago. I have a 29-year-old son. Last year was shot on the Franklin Avenue bus because he spoke up. He spoke up. Like they said, if you see something wrong, say something. And the young man was doing something inappropriate and he spoke up. And the young man tried to take his life. And now he's having mental illness for the last few months. And he's living on the street. He's not in the encampment. He's living on the street. I'll go find him. And as a mother, how can I sleep? He worked. He drove trucks. He worked. And even in his sickness, he goes to temp service and try to work. And I call Unity and I call all these programs that's getting this money to try to help my son. And they send me to the other one and send me to the other one and send me to the other one. I had a neighbor, because I'm out there in the community. I'm working in the community. This is not the first time I've been here speaking on something. I had a neighbor who Unity put in a house. And that worker that they sent out there never came back. 2 years. She did not pay that $90-something and her rent went up and the man put her stuff out. She got 3 eviction notice. I used my phone and called Unity, who gave her voucher. And they told me, how you got this number? I said, I'm calling from my neighbor. They just put her stuff out. They told her to go outside. She stood there. Okay? Her stuff was put out. Her daughter had to come and get her. Well, where was the worker? You know this lady got mental issues? She should not, what, 2 years? Where was they at? Who paid attention? My thing is, what you do after you put him in a house? What you do after that? How your father do? What happens after that? Everybody should be told mental illness is real. You got a lot of people turn to drugs because they got mental illness. You got a lot of people out there on drugs and they just don't want the responsibility. You can run out, they're gonna turn into a crack house. How do we maintain that they do what they need to do or something need to be done? You got some people out there, they're out there because they cannot afford rent here in the city of New Orleans. 725 is not gonna get it. And they're out there, and their children are out there. You got people want somewhere to live, want a peace, want to be a part of society. I mean, are we our brother's keeper? I believe we are our brother's keeper. I believe we should do better than just get here with meetings and talk and do something. I understand what Congressman Green said. There are houses, some landlords don't want rent to the people. I understand that. But yes, utilize charity hospital. Bring in the resources.
Ms. Ellis,
mental health.
You can wrap it up.
People. Thank you.
Thank you. Our last comment call for the day is Mr. Belton Baptiste.
Belton Baptiste, 1421 Miro. First of all, I want to commend Councilman Eugene Green. I saw him early in the morning. He has been working. I want to compliment Freddie King because y'all came together across District C and D to work with the homeless. Ms. Lovely Harris, I want to commend you. You doing your thing uptown, and you gonna laugh because yesterday you went on Tulane with your baseball hat. For the seniors, they called you and you got them results at Tulane. How they was living, they didn't call me 65 times, you know what I'm saying? So they happy with that. I wanna say Alonzo Knox, the state rep, thank him. I wanna thank Royce Duplessis who have, and all y'all have teamed up. And when I talk about the city working together, that's how y'all should be working together. So I just wanted to commend you gentlemen. Now, what Eugene said about the rental houses, he's the expert on that. I gotta give it to him. Eugene is the expert on rental housing. So what he's saying, he's right. Now, to get down to my beef. Martha, I called your name all night. I was the one calling your name. Martha, I want to know why you disrespected Tremie. We had a meeting last night, you didn't come. Why haven't you, Miss Martha, met with the people? This can be an easy process, but all you gotta do is call a meeting at Shabonet or Tremie Center and say, look, I'm Miss Martha from Unity for the Homeless, like the 3 old business owners out there. Talk to them. We don't hear nothing for you. I want to see your books. I want a forensic audit done, and I want to see your 5-year plan. Because when I call Unity, I'm on the street calling you for the homeless people. Y'all hate up in the people face. That's why I'm looking for you, Martha. And all I'm saying, do the right thing by the people. Now, Mr. Nathan Fields, you want to know what my problem is with you, Nathan? I call your office 10 times. Well, Eugene say you do good work. Other folks say you do good work. But when Belden Noonan, man, Baptiste, the community activist, then call you 10 times and you're not answering, Nathan, that's like disrespect, brother Eugene. You know what I'm saying? Now, the other thing my concern is, Miss Martha, Nathan Fields, they got kids living in those tents. How many times do y'all go check on the kids? How many times? One kid picked up a condom and thought it was a balloon and was playing with it. One little girl took a needle and almost fucked herself. So if you Unity, I want to know who gives you all that power to have the power to say it's not going to work. You know what I'm saying? Now, to be fair to Mr. Nathan Fields, he did try to get the camps done, but I heard you was the problem. And I want to know, and I'm going to bat word to the legislator because you should not have all that power. You got Miss Linda Lewis with Armstrong. How often do you talk to her? That lady come out of her pocket to pay people bills and rent. And none of y'all have given her no money, Armstrong. I told her talk to you, Eugene. I told her talk to Freddie. I don't know if she talked to y'all, but Miss Linda Lewis with Armstrong, that lady comes out of her pocket. We be out there 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, and that mother right there cried with 3 children. So after this meeting, I don't want to hear all that talking. Go to that mother. Go to the business owner. Let's get it done. Because if you don't, February night, Martha, I'm organizing. I'm coming to your office and Nathan Fields' office. I ain't going to the councilman because y'all said farewell tonight, and I'm trusting y'all on y'all word. But council members, thank y'all because y'all showing New Orleans how council members should work.
Mr. Baptiste, 1 second. You said that there are kids in tents living inside a tent.
Yes, they got kids out there, and they need to do the walkthroughs. I'm not saying you, Freddie. I'm not saying let Eugene because I see y'all out there. I saw Eugene earlier just morning. And then I brought a family to him. And you know what he did? He didn't walk away. He talked to that family and told them that. So I appreciate what y'all brothers doing because sometimes I'm on y'all like gravy on rice. But it was hard for me to come up here and give y'all good grades. But y'all deserve good grades.
Thank you. Thank you. We always appreciate those kind words, especially from you, Mr. Baptiste. Look, I know this is a sensitive issue and there's a lot of emotions, a lot of feelings involved. I believe we all want the same thing for a clean city and those who have the housing, those who are in need of housing to receive housing. I don't think anyone wants to see homeless folks running around the street or unhoused folks in the streets or not being taken care of. So thank y'all for coming. This was a marathon of a meeting. And I'm sorry, Mr. Sweeney got out of hand a few times, but sometimes in this chamber, that's just how it is. We're working on that. We're not perfect. Thank y'all for coming. There's no need to call for an adjournment. We don't have a quorum. So
I just wanted to add that there were some online comments. I'm happy to just include them in the record if you would prefer. There are I think there's 6.
if you can read them, please, and if any of my colleagues have to leave, I definitely understand, but I want to give everybody their time to be heard.
Sure. The first one I have is from Disha Greeley, who says, request that there be community residents, organizations, neighborhoods, subdivision, HOAs, businesses, churches, and schools that reside in the community that are impacted by the unhoused. We request to be engaged, involved, and informed of the decision-making that take place of any communities, of any committees that are formed. Jeremy Renault says these encampments are a danger to our community, and we would like to see them removed. Chris Freeman says a deadline has been publicly communicated to clear this Claiborne encampment on February 9th, 2024. I live in Tremay, a couple of blocks from the Claiborne encampment. I attended the community meeting on the 9th of January on the subject, where the February 9th deadline was stated. I strongly support the efforts underway to deal with these people in a civilized manner. I heard and understood Mr. Nathan Fields, and I support his plan and his efforts. Please do everything you possibly can to remove roadblocks and get this done by February 9th. Thank you. Kip Holler with the Fallbrook Marigny Improvement Association says the FMIA has grave concerns about the aftermath of the closing of this encampment and the relocation of the unhoused individuals, as this encampment is located on the edge of our neighborhood. History has shown that crackdowns in abutting neighborhoods push unwanted conditions into Fallbrook Marigny. We saw this with other enforcement activities in the French Quarter, Lower Decatur, and Checkpoint Charlie's, and Bywater naval support activity. The effects of those have had a direct impact on Fallbrook Marigny, as this is where the individuals have historically relocated. Some have even taken up residency under the Mandeville Wharves and stripped the infrastructure, rendering parts of Crescent Park and the pavilion above unusable. We cannot play a game of whack-a-mole or cat and mouse and simply clean up one area and shift the problems to another. Additionally, I'm a realtor and property manager by profession. I personally have 8 units available that I have been offering to Unity since before the Chapatoulas encampment closed, and they have yet to only fill one of those units with clients. There is a severe flaw in the system. A benchmark date with no plan is not a realistic deadline. A plan with no action is not a plan at all. Who's in charge here and who's going to hold these folks accountable? This is a complete mess. Move them all to Duncan Plaza until a real plan is in place. Bill Stelly comments, what are the legislative remedies at the state level or city council level to compel Unity to spend $15 million in federal funds allocated to address the homeless encampment under the Claiborne Avenue Expressway? Will the city administration or city council pursue a legal remedy to compel the expenditure of the millions held by Unity? What human resources and physical assets will be deployed to ensure the Claiborne encampment is cleared by February 9th? And finally, we have Ava Fuscher, who says, good morning, I'm Ava Fuscher, born and raised in the Tremay. Today, I am dressed in black because I'm in mourning. Why my community is dying because of a drug encampment that has plagued my neighborhood for 2 years. I've called Eugene Green's office every 2 days or 3 times a day to help solve this problem. I beg you to close this encampment down. And that's the last of the online comments.
All right, thank you. That adjourns our meeting. Appreciate it.